Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Listen up, people. We got a big favor to ask, and we promise it won't take too much of your time. You know our show's supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to ESPNpodcaststudy.com and fill out a short, anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. No more. Again, that's ESPNpodcaststudy.com.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Leave us a voicemail, 860-506-5505. What do you think the Spurs should do with Kawhi? Where do you think LeBron is going? Maybe who your team should draft with the NBA draft coming up tomorrow night? Or what would cause you to walk away from $70 million more? If you could stay one place and make $70 million more than going somewhere else and not making $70 more million, I need to know what that would be.
Yeah, talking about Kawhi Leonard walking away from the Supermax. And basketball is a sport where you know exactly what you're leaving on the table. The top players, anyway, who get the max deals, because the max here and the max there are two different things, so it's right there in black and white, just what you're possibly leaving on the table.
I'd be very interested, and Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, is going to be on here in 30 minutes, what he thinks about max contracts and what their benefit is to the league at this point. Because
you mean if it's working, we know the reason why, to keep the guys on your team.
To keep the guy, the idea of the Supermax as it's currently constructed is instituted to keep guys on your team, but the max contract in general, the advent of that practice is the reason you have the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
It's the reason you have the idea of super teams. Joe Thomas was on Twitter the other day going off about this as because it came off those Myles Garrett comments about Kevin Durant broke the NBA. He said, no, max contracts did that. And so the reason it's easy to leave $70 million on the table is because you're not leaving $150 million on the table the way you would be if you were being paid fair market value as a superstar.
Well, again, but the whole idea of the super, like you said, the Supermax contract was to make sure the Golden State Warriors don't exist, right? That was the whole point.
But
that is the whole point.
No,
right?
it's
the Supermax now. Yes.
But even the Supermax is ill-conceived in doing that because there's still a limit on what you can make. And so you say, all right, I can have a capped amount here that still, it incentivizes me, but not as much as it could, or I can play winning basketball at a place that can afford to build the team on the normal Supermax where I'm still paid plenty of money and all this. It's not enough to sway them away the way guys in the NFL would never dream of doing this, because when you've got the ability to make fair market value, it changes the game completely because the dollar amounts are so inordinate.
Yeah, they really are. So again, we got a lot of that coming up, and we'll enjoy our conversation with Commissioner Silver coming up at the bottom of this hour. Lots to get to, and let's do it now with what's trending. And what's trending is the Yankees doing what the Yankees do. Domingo Germán tossed a two-hit ball over a career-high 7 innings. And Giancarlo Stanton hit one of New York's 4 home runs, Mike, in the 7-2 win against the Mariners.
Again, Yankees have 118 home runs this season. That's tied for second most through a team's first 70 games. They're tied with the 2000 Cardinals. The leaders are 99 Mariners with 130, so 12 more than the Yankees have this year and what the Cardinals had in 2000. Gleyber Torres continues his incredible pace for the rookie.
It's ridiculous.
Now at 14 home runs. Looking at the other home run hitters who are age 21 or younger in Yankee history, Mickey Mantle in 51 hit 13, and 52 hit 23, and 53 hit 21, all at 21 or younger. And then Joe DiMaggio heads that list in 1936. He hit 29, 21 or younger, and Torres has hit 14 at this point. So kid's something else right now, and we were throwing him out there. Would you trade him for DeGrom? And obviously the Yankees aren't going to trade him. The Mets. It's fun fodder to talk about and something that it wasn't going to happen. But boy, oh boy. I mean, the Yankees have a lot of big boppers. Some they're not even paying big money yet. This guy obviously is so young. Not yet. Stanton's the only one getting that monster money at this point.
He is, and I think that's been the interesting thing as much as anything about this recent Yankees run and all of the runs that we've seen is Stanton's also hitting pretty well again. We've seen him another home run for him last night, 17 on the year now. I think so. Aaron Judge has been consistent throughout the year, but we know Stanton's struggled so much to start and was the talk of the town, and now seems to have finally found that groove again.
Well, he got his furniture, so that's probably what it was more than anything else. He finally got his furniture taken care of.
But seriously, you think about the guys making the money. Gary Sanchez is making $557,000. Aaron Judge is making $544,000. Torres, we know, is not even making that, I don't believe. Yeah. And Gregorius is making $5 million. So, and then obviously you have Stanton and what he's making. So these guys are all looking for big paydays down the road. It's just not happening. Obviously not yet.
Well, and that's going to be the interesting thing here, because right now I believe we have 4 teams in the American League on pace to win 100 games. 4 teams. Yankees, Red Sox, Astros, and Mariners are right now all are on pace to win 100 games. And that means 2 of those teams, if these things hold up, will be in that one-game playoff. That one-game playoff to keep their hope alive going forward. And with that in mind, the Yankees are going to have to do something and give up something to make sure they have enough pitching going forward. Meanwhile, speaking of going forward, hey, Russia took a step closer to the round of 16 in the World Cup with a 3-1 win over Egypt. All Russia needs to advance to the round of 16 is a point from Uruguay against Saudi Arabia tomorrow.
Yeah, so Russia wins 3-1. Japan beats Colombia. That was a huge win for you, Trey.
Yes, first ever time an Asian team had beaten a South American team in World Cup play.
And a huge win for Mike and Devin was Senegal beating Poland. That one absolutely crushed me. So the standings right now in our snake draft is Mike and Devin are first with 14 points. The staff is second with 13 points. Trey has 12. I got shut out yesterday. I only have 9 points.
I can't believe Poland fell apart
I can't
you.
either.
I mean, congratulations to Senegal, but come on.
So the games today, Portugal against Morocco, Uruguay against Saudi Arabia, and Iran against Spain. So, and again, we only care about our snake draft more than anybody else, but teams can start to advance now.
Well, the over-under prop bet on Uruguay is when will Luis Suarez bite someone? I mean, that's what he does. So the question is, it's coming. It's just a matter of in which state will it be in group play? Will it be in the knockout round if they get there? That's the prop bet everybody wants to know, right?
Bite Watch 2018.
Well, we had it in 2014. We had it. I mean, he's pretty consistent. I'll give him credit.
You know what you can do?
Yeah,
book it.
Oh, do we have book it today?
Well done.
No. Book it's on Thursday.
Book it.
It's just a nice tease, a little book it to get you through the week, little hit.
You know what else you can book? They need to book more beer. I'm sure you guys are probably more upset about this than anything else. They are running out of beer at the World Cup in Russia.
Stunningly enough, they have. It's been hot and humid there, and there are places that are running out of draft beer, and the deliveries aren't coming quick enough. I think there was. They obviously misjudged what was going on in Russia.
They obviously, I think, thought a little bit too much about their own reputation. They figure we're Russia. We do vodka. Everyone's going to come here, and they're going to want to sample some of this fine Russian vodka that we got. The problem is, this is event drinking. This isn't, I've got a 3-hour window to go out and hit it hard drinking. This is, I've got to last all day. And you can't do that shooting vodka. You'll die.
That's true.
You can if you're Russian. You can't do it if you're anybody else.
That's a fair point. Yes, these are outsiders coming in for your party, and you don't want to be the party that runs out of beer.
They overestimated everybody else's vodka tolerance.
Yeah,
right? Because they have great vodka tolerance.
I think they just saw this through Russian vodka lenses.
Yeah.
We'll get into more of that a little bit later, and maybe how they can save themselves.
Yeah, I know how they can. Order more beer.
There you go. All right. Nicely done.
That easy.
And then NBA prospect Michael Porter certainly doesn't lack for confidence. In an interview on CBS Sports Radio, he compared his game to that of Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, and just for funny, threw in Tracy McGrady as well.
You know what? We always have analysts do that. But when a player does it, we can't stand it. Listen,
how dare he say he's good?
In all honesty, listen, I'm past all of that. But I don't want to hear a player tell me who he is or how good he's going to be. Trae Young, I want to do something that's never been done before. Okay, great. Every player that comes in a draft and goes into a pro sport wants to do something, wants to be successful, wants to be very good. I've never been a fan of hearing someone tell me who they're going to be like or how good they're going to be or how good they want to be. I know it's the old guy coming out. Go ahead and play the drop if you want, but there's just something about you.
Oh, yeah.
You have the ability. You're going to go play. Just play. You know what? And when you play and you're really good, people will talk about you. That's something that's been back in the day, and I think would fit right now as well. You don't need to tell me how good you're going to be.
So basically what you're saying is
you play to win the game.
You just play. You just play.
You play to win the game.
Let your play tell everybody how good you are.
All I'll say is this. We're hearing it consistently enough from everyone, right? These guys.
I know.
So what does that usually tell you? And what do we always say about the pre-draft process for the NFL? You are coached up on a lot of this stuff. You're coached up to give people what they want. Is this something that, whether it's advertisers, whether it's teams who want to hear this kind of confidence, is this something that people need to hear? Because I can't imagine everyone's going rogue, right? I mean, unless this is just a huge personality shift and guys all really are this otherworldly confident, which in this case, give me some of what they're having.
Yeah.
But this just...
Vodka.
Yes, it's probably vodka. It's probably Russian vodka. I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's too pervasive for it to be accidental.
Yeah.
Well,
but to that point, one person does it and it gets some tread, so the other person says, "Well, they're doing it, so I'll do it."
So I guess my question would be, because I know you were in that situation where you got coached up on how you should answer questions. What's the upside? Do we think that some draft GM or team is hearing Trae Young say, "I want to do things different in the league that nobody's done before," and they're going, "Oh, well, you know what? We're going to take him a little higher because he said that," or that we hear a player compare himself to Kevin Durant, and that's supposed to change our thought process about him? For the people who are making decisions?
I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if that's a coaching point, if it's just exude confidence or whatever. But I mean, God, how much longer, or how recently was it when we heard all those rookie quarterbacks after they got drafted? What are we going to do? I'm talking about winning Super Bowls. We're going to win this many games this year. Guys just seem to, and then all of a sudden they get inside the building, and it's amazing how quickly the answers for that rookie class of quarterbacks changes all of a sudden.
Shut down a little bit,
because then they're comparing themselves against other 21, 22-year-olds, and then they see 28-year-old monsters, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to pump the brakes. Yeah. Michael Porter Jr. certainly not lacking any confidence. Confidence theme brought to you by National Mortgage Lender Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. So you can mortgage confidently, but can you break a world record confidently? Yesterday was the day. Yesterday was the day where Junior and Bubble Boy, Devin, went out there and tried to break the record set by our guy, golfer Tony Finau, and one of his buddies.
Steve Tinoco, who was a minor league baseball player. So a minor league baseball player catching the ball and a professional golfer hitting the ball. So we went out there to a park, and I watched them practice for a little bit.
Man.
And I changed the rule. So here's what I changed, Trey.
Okay, yeah, because you obviously saw something that made you feel like you needed to change the rules.
And by the way, for anyone that missed this, Devin and I said we thought we could break that record, and you offered up one of your paychecks.
I did. I offered one of my paychecks to split in half and give half to each of these guys. And then when I saw them practice, I saw it was definitely, I didn't think they could do it anyway, but how difficult it was going to be. And Tony Finau and Steve Tinoco, they took 3 attempts to break the world record. So I changed it. And the world record was going to be out of it in the last 2 because it was over the time. So the first one I gave them a minute to break the record. And then I gave him a second attempt at 1:15 and a third attempt at 1.5 minutes. So I went up 15 seconds per. But the money they were going to win came down. They were going to get half my paycheck. Then they were going to split a third of my paycheck, and then they were going to split only a quarter of my paycheck. This was all
before we did anything out on the field. This is how you watched us practice and you thought you would make it a little more interesting.
Yeah, now I did. I did.
It was completely unnecessary, by the way.
And then we got to the competition. The terms were agreed upon, and then we got to the competition.
And how did it go?
Mike,
we're seeing some video of it if you're watching on ESPN.
So the first thing I'll say about Devin really quick, Devin, I was surprised how winded you got and how out of shape you are for hitting a golf ball.
Yeah, I was surprised as well.
Were you hyperventilating? What's going on?
It was just, a lot of sweat. It turns out hitting 20 golf balls in a minute can tire you out pretty well.
Oh, my God.
Oh, you know what? No,
oh my God.
I'm not going to.
I'm 74, and I don't get tired out hitting 20 golf balls.
I'm not going to tolerate this. I want to see. All right, you know what? I want you guys to line up 20 golf balls and hit them inside a minute and see if you're not winded.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I mean, doubled over, Trey. He was doubled over. And
that's insane.
Mike, do you want to say whether you guys got the record or not? Do I owe you money, or do you guys owe me a car wash?
All right, so listen.
Oh, I already know.
Here come the qualifiers. Here come the qualifiers.
I just got to say, first off, we didn't need all 3 tries to realize this wasn't going to work. We were not very good at this. I may have misjudged the importance of the minor league baseball aspect in all this, because judging the ball flight and trying to react to them coming one after another at their zenith all of a sudden became the most difficult part of this. Got to give Devin a lot of credit here on the team. Devin was putting them in very catchable positions.
Except for the first round. The first round, Devin was horrible.
First round was terrible.
Well, horrible.
And part of the issue, I heard you chirping in the microphone, and you just got in my head.
So
you got
again,
in my head.
I did. So again, we're trying to check someone's toughness.
Dude.
He was like a wax figure next to a fire. He just melted.
Well, can I just say, now, Devin, I love you. You're my bubble boy. You're my guy. But this segment has been horrible for you. You are so out of shape that 20 swings in a minute wins you. And secondly, you're mentally weak. This is a very tough segment.
I did have the megaphone.
This is a very
I had
tough
the megaphone and I was chirping.
I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to go to bat for my teammate here because, again, Devin was not the problem. I fully admit my hands failed me on this one. By the way, that hurts like hell. Catching a golf ball bare hand, not a great time.
Yeah.
Not great. We had Stanzik, our producer Dan Stanzik went out there and caught a practice one. Dan, tell him how that felt.
I got to be honest, we underestimated how much that's going to hurt the hand.
Like
we saw the padding and we were ripping on Steve Tinoco and we were like, whoa,
Steve
this guy's
Tinoco had taped his hands and you taped your hands and it still hurts you.
The level he taped was savage. So I'll say that.
Okay, so
it was bad for us. We went over
attempt number 1 in 1 minute. How many did you catch?
None.
And that was, I'm going to say that was more on Devin. You would admit, Devin, right?
First round, yeah.
There were only probably a few catchable balls.
You almost
in there.
hit me and or Cliff more than you got it to Mike.
Tension is the enemy of the golf swing.
You didn't catch any.
I wasn't reaching my hand up for that.
Tension is the enemy of the golf swing,
The
Devin.
second one, you had a minute 15. How many did you catch then?
Caught 3.
Okay, this was the one, Trey. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
The second round, first hit was a beauty by Devin, and Mike caught it. So they were, right at the start of a minute 15, they were 1 for 1. And I thought, okay, that's pretty interesting.
Again, we're talking about the bet that Devin and Junior had with you in an attempt to break one of the most obscure Guinness Book of World Records ever, catching 13 golf balls from 110 yards inside a minute.
Inside a minute. That's exactly right. So we had gone past the minute. We were going to give it a minute 15. It caught through. You caught the first one, and I really thought, wow.
Yep.
So in that one, you probably had 6 or 7 that you could have gotten to, and you caught 3.
Yeah, I was a bad punt returner in this one. I misjudged a lot of these balls, and so once I was off my game, change of direction's not what it used to be or ever was.
You weren't horrible in that one. Devin was horrible in the first. You were weren't horrible in the second, but not great. You were downright horrific in the third.
Bottomed out in the last one. There's no doubt about it.
We went to the minute 30. How many did you catch there? None. You caught none. And Devin, I have to say, Devin, in that minute 30, you put, I would say, you caught 1. You don't even remember the one you caught in the third round.
Most of the time.
You had to put at least 8 to 10 catchable.
I was feeling good. By the last round, I was feeling good.
You knocked him in there, and Mike, you just couldn't catch him.
I'll tell you what, that's why I'm going to sit up here all day. I'm going to wear this one. I won't tolerate any slander for Devin because Devin was putting him out there right now.
Round 1 he was horrible.
Round 1 was tough, but everyone has a rough it was working out the kinks. We were getting him in there.
Round practice for an hour to work out the kinks.
Round 1 was Devin's Phil Mickelson moment on the 13th.
There you go.
That's basically
I'm not going to lie, by the way, I would posit this. Devin, best athlete on the staff.
Wow.
I'm willing to say that top to bottom. And based on what I saw.
Because he could swing a golf club?
Because he can swing a golf club. I know he can hoop. I've seen that. We can confirm that with Ryan Hollins. It's not Devin's fault that Ryan can't catch an alley-oop.
Mm-hmm.
All I'll say is this, and I think I'd be willing to do something around this. I think Devin could beat Trey in a round of golf.
What's your handicap?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
See?
Ooh.
Sleeper.
I'm all in.
Sleeper.
I'm all in.
I'm
about it.
I'm not going to lie. He swings very well.
I'm looking at the swings
good.
right now. It's strong to mostly strong. He's taking the right divots. You clearly, I'm watching the video, were never a punt returner.
No.
Yeah, like I said, what gave it away?
Yeah.
As I said, an O-lineman try. And that was, and we found out what they should have done is not hit at the pace you were hitting because there's no way you were going back to it. You even had Brett back there, trying to tell you where the next one was coming. That was an impossibility. I give those guys a lot of credit setting that record. Being now, again, a baseball player, being able to catch a ball and judge a hell of a lot better than a fat O-lineman.
Formerly fat
O-lineman.
So the best part about this now is Devin and I lose the bet. We're going to pay up. We're going to make good on it. We got to wash your car.
3 weeks washing my car. They have to wear Speedos, and they have to use their bodies as the washcloth.
Nobody wins here.
No, see,
Nobody
now
here.
me and Devin win because now our diet starts. Now, if the summer bodies weren't already tight, they're going to be even tighter. This is going to be like a calendar shoot.
Hold on, you just told us last hour that your body is already rocking.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's there, but it can get better. It's like getting ready for a photo shoot. Models sit around in great shape, and then they tighten for the photo shoot.
We have the body edition of ESPN, the magazine, coming out. We have the people that we're going to talk about.
We do.
You guys can try and get yourselves ready for that.
Still waiting on the invite.
The next video you'll see of Mike and Devin will be them slithering all over my car, washing it with their Speedo-wearing bodies.
We're going to have a special guest,
You're welcome, America.
No.
You're welcome.
America should be rejecting this idea with all of its might.
Special guest that you guys are really going to love almost as much as I'm sure that everyone, including our bosses, love this segment.
Is this person going to wear a Speedo as well?
Oh, yeah.
Are you telling us who it is, or are you just teasing it?
No, we're going to hang it out there. This is one you're going to want to see. Whole lot of man.
Well, hold on. If you say
whole lot of man.
If you're saying Speedo, hanging it out there pretty much comes along anyway. So,
we're going to be all the way out here, man. Get your popcorn ready.
Get your vomit bags ready.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night, no doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We are delighted to be joined right now by the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, who is getting ready for the NBA draft. Adam, first and foremost, thank you for being with us. By the way, you were the first guest, I believe, we had outside of people inside the building here on Golic and Wingo. And 7 months later, we're still here. They said it wouldn't last.
Well, good morning.
Glad to have you with us. So as we're getting ready for the start of the NBA draft tomorrow night, what is your anticipatory level here for this event, which is really the seminal event of the offseason going forward for the NBA?
There's an enormous amount of anticipation. I mean, we have, I think, another fantastic class based on watching a lot of them play in college. Obviously, some very high-profile international players coming in as well. They're coming in a little bit younger than they have historically. We're projecting we're going to have roughly 20 one-and-done players coming in out of college. I think that's just the reality of where we find ourselves. And, we spend a lot of time talking about what our minimum age should be these days. But I can just tell from the amount being talked and written about this class that not only the fans excited, but I know there's a lot of teams are really excited about the opportunity as well.
Certainly looks like a good class. And you mentioned the possibility of 21 and dones. In your estimation, how many years will it be before we are announcing high school seniors again in this draft?
I'm not sure. As you guys have reported, we sent a memo out to our teams saying that if we were to make the change, it wouldn't happen before either the 2021 or 22 season. The reason we did that is because teams, of course, trade draft picks. And the year that if we were to change the age from 19 to 18, you can just imagine how rich that draft class will be, because in essence, we'll have two classes coming in at once. And again, that maybe there's something different we need to do that year. We've had very preliminary discussions with the Players Association about what would happen in that case, but we really haven't sat down either frankly with our owners or the Players Association to have more extensive discussions about whether the right thing for the league is to move a year earlier. Just to add to what's going on, as I think Condoleezza Rice was brought in by the NCAA. She chaired a commission. They met for about 6 months, and they made a recommendation that, in essence, that the NBA take back the one-and-done players. So I think one of the important factors, of course, is that if the college community is saying they don't want those players, I think that will weigh heavily in the discussions we have with our Players Association. And around the league, it's a mixed bag. I think probably our teams are about 50-50. I mean, we went back in 2005, we went from 18 to 19 as the minimum age, and we did it because at the time there was a sense that the players coming right out of high school weren't mature enough, both from a skill standpoint and a life standpoint. Things are a little bit different now. I think the AAU programs, the junior NBA programs, the USA basketball programs for teens are more intensive. Plus, we have our G League, which we didn't have back then. Again, it's not. I don't think it's win-win. Whatever you do, I think I can understand from a lot of general managers' standpoint why they would prefer drafting players after they've been in college for a year. On the other hand, in fairness to the college system, if they don't want the players, I think that's something we have to take into account.
And it's certainly something that looks like it will be figured out going forward as we're talking with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver on the eve of the NBA draft. Adam, we just came off lather, rinse, repeat for the fourth straight year, a finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And on one sense, it's what the people wanted. Ratings were up. People were very interested, even though it was a sweep. They were very into this series because of the stars that were there. However, there are some people out there that are saying, look, we're getting into a situation where we have these dynasties which are bad for competitive balance in the NBA. Now, my counter to that has always been we've always had dynastic teams in the NBA, going back to the 50s, whether it's the Celtics, the Lakers, the Bulls of the 90s, the Spurs, and a couple of other teams in the 2000s. The question then becomes, where are we going forward on the idea of the same teams being there year in and year again being a problem?
Well, to your point about who's happy about it, certainly not the 28 other teams.
Correct.
I can begin with. But, to your point also about competition, I mean, and I talked about this during the finals. I mean, just taking the East, for example, with LeBron, he, of course, has been to the finals now 8 consecutive seasons. I think the first player since Bill Russell to do that, and he's played with 59 different teammates over the last 8 years. So I'm not sure what system we could develop. If supposedly the right outcome was he shouldn't be in the finals 8 years in a row, and I'm not suggesting it is, but from a system standpoint, I don't know what we can do differently. I don't think anybody was looking at Cleveland going into the finals and saying, what a loaded team. I can't believe he has so many superstars around him, with complete respect to his teammates. So, and then in the case of the West, I get it in terms of Kevin Durant going there. It was a bit of an aberration in our system. We had a spike in our cap. It enabled them to have additional cap room. The Warriors will tell you they would have figured out a way to get it done anyway. I don't know. But even if Kevin Durant hadn't gone to Golden State, and let's just say he'd stayed at Oklahoma City, or let's say he'd gone to another team maybe in the East, you clearly would have had a third team that would have been much better. Any team that has Kevin Durant will be. But then you still have 27 other teams. And so, you got to give Golden State their due. And I've said repeatedly, let's also celebrate excellence. I mean, ownership, the job Bob Myers has done as a GM, Steve Kerr, of course, one of the great coaches in our league. And then, Steph Curry drafted, Klay Thompson drafted, Draymond Green drafted 35th by Golden State Warriors. And so I don't think as a league we want to go about breaking up teams just to break them up, just to force some sort of parity that is kind of unnatural. On the other hand, I can understand a system doing some different things in the system that may not have allowed a player like Kevin Durant to go to a team that was already so good. So, number one, there are things we can look at. There's always a next collective bargaining agreement, and people over the years, we've talked about a harder cap than we have now. The NFL is a much harder cap than we do. Ours is somewhat soft, obviously, allows teams to go significantly above the cap and the tax level, and that's the case with both Golden State and Cleveland. They're significantly above where our tax level is right now. So we'll continue to look at it. But in the meantime, hats off to Golden State and to Cleveland for that matter. They're competing within the system. They're driving hard to win, and to the extent that Golden State, as a result, may be a dynasty, I mean, they're probably right there, and not for me to declare them one, and maybe people have to look back on it. But again, I credit them with working within the system, and also just watch the basketball on the floor. I mean, it's beautiful. They're a fantastic team, and I think and I loved I think a few players. I mean, Victor Oladipo, when Indiana lost in Game 7 to Cleveland, he tweeted the next day, "I'm back in the gym." I know where the bar is now, and also in our league in terms of parity, for the first time in 39 years, we had 2 7-game conference finals. So I mean, you could say the Rockets were built to defeat the Warriors, and they were right there. They had Game 7 at home against the Golden State Warriors, and obviously in Game 5, Chris Paul, a superstar player in this league, injured himself, and there you were. So he wasn't in the game that the whole season was built on being in. So there's elements of luck involved with this as well. So I mean, I'm still at this stage of celebrating the basketball we have right now. But I hear people. people, I mean, listen, honestly, the 20 other teams, they're the biggest complainers in terms of, the fact that these two teams have met 4 times in a row. And so they're ultimately, collectively, our 30 teams are in charge of what system we have together with the players. And by the way, the players want to win too. I mean, it's not just the owners. The players on 20 other teams want a system that allows every player, regardless of where they get drafted or where they get traded or where they sign, to be able to compete for championships.
Sure.
And that's what you want. So, and again, as you guys pointed out, there have been dynasties forever in this league. It's funny. There's an old Sports Illustrated cover you guys should look up from 1997, and there's a picture of Michael Jordan on the cover.
Yeah, we've seen it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's saying, are the Bulls bad for the NBA? And it's sort of, it's kind of the same storyline right now. I mean, although, I was with the league, of course, I started in the early 90s, people weren't quite saying, I don't remember the same conversation back then. I think because you didn't have the Kevin Durant factor. I think that sort of bugs people a little bit. I think just because a team that was already a championship team gained Kevin Durant, there wasn't quite the equivalent with the Chicago Bulls. But like I said, from a system standpoint, I'll take that as an issue for the league, because we always, through collective bargaining, can be sitting down with our Players Association, figuring out what's the best way to design competition around this league, because that's what we have. So.
Adam Silver joining us, the commissioner of the NBA. You've also advocated for, now that gambling is legal, a 1% cut, basically, for the league. Where are, as we have a couple of states now that are going forward with this, where is that heading right now about the 1%, whether you can or whether you can't?
The casinos don't seem as excited about that idea as I am.
I'm shocked by that, Adam.
Our notion is that, there's a bit of analogy to me to music that, call it a royalty. When that music plays in the casino, everyone understands that the musicians, the composer, all get a royalty, some fee from that music being played. From our standpoint, we created this content in the NBA this year. Believe it or not, we'll spend roughly, close to $8 billion this year, in the NBA, a combination of our arenas, paying the players, all our expenses and everything else. It would just seem natural that, to the extent that the casinos are going to then take that content and a for-profit business, of course, then use it to make money, that the NBA or whatever sports league, and including the players, are involved in the creation of that content, should get some sort of share. So we went to the state legislatures. There's roughly 20 of them right now who are in the process of either passed bills or discussing right now sports betting legislation. We went to them and said, we should get some sort of cut. Now, I'll just say that to the extent that the states are, saying ultimately, no, they're not suggesting necessarily that we don't deserve to enter into some commercial relationship with the casinos. They're saying we're going to let the market, work its magic. In other words, you, the NBA, if you want to sit down with Caesars or Wynn or whatever it is, the casino, and have direct discussions, that's up to you. And then, so in other words, you may have situations where you go into a sports book at the Bellagio Hotel, and there's some official moniker that says, official, betting parlor of the NBA or whatever the league is, and as a consumer then that their data is coming directly from the league. There's a whole process now where illegally some of our data is they call it like scraped, where you have college kids watching games off television and creating their own stat feeds, things like that. So, the data is official, there's an integrity behind the information you have. It allows them to use the logos and marks of the league. So at the end of the day, I think we will probably end up entering into a set of deals directly with the casinos. But let me just to step back. Most importantly, from the league standpoint, I mean, this is a position I took as soon as I became commissioner. There's hundreds of billions of dollars bet illegally just in the United States on sports right now, and for us, having it regulated and legal across the country is much better than the current state of affairs, where people are paying cash on at the corner bar. It's like here, at least, probably most important to us, putting aside a fee, is that we have access to the data in the aggregate, not to the individual bettors, so that if there's aberrational behavior, if there's, look, everybody knows what the lines are in these games. Everyone knows what the over-under is, and you can see when something's happening that's aberrational, just like there's insider trading with stocks, that the New York Stock Exchange, their computers, set off, red flags if there's unusual activity on a particular stock. And then they work backwards. They see exactly who's buying that stock, and they can figure out whether there's something untoward going on. It's no different in Europe, where there's legalized sports betting and people are identifying themselves betting on their smartphones, etc. If somebody who's never made a bet before is all of a sudden putting a lot of money down on a game that had an outcome that nobody was expecting, it causes the regulators to look, and it may be, who is this person? And maybe it's totally legit, but maybe it's not. So whether or not the fee comes to the NBA, a regulated jurisdiction will be much better for us.
All right, Adam, listen, we appreciate the insight there. A lot going on. We'll see how these things play out. Looking forward to the draft tomorrow on ESPN, ESPN Radio, and ESPN.com. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big, giant Jell-O mold.
It's very interesting where that went. Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Let's get more into this with our ESPN NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski, who joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Woj, the draft, we were just talking about Michael Porter Jr., and the issue with the hip, obviously, is a smaller concern. A reconstructed back, obviously, or surgically repaired back at his age is a bigger concern. At his age, and the fact that he's had little playing time in college, could he go higher than people are saying right now, or do you think he's slotted in toward the back end of the top 10?
Well, his range is as wide as anybody's in this draft, and I think he's very much in play at number 8 with Cleveland. I believe he'll go in the lottery. This is a talent who, if he had played his college season, if he had been healthy, we'd be talking about him in 1, 2, 3. But teams are all pouring through his medical information now, and different doctors and different organizations are going to make usually different recommendations to their front offices about whether what kind of risk he is, and the risk for him, drops as he goes further in the draft. He becomes a more palatable choice the further down you go. But he'll go in the lottery.
Yeah, right now the ultimate grade A mock draft has him going number 6 to Orlando. So we'll see. We'll find out tomorrow, and I guess when will we find out, or what's going on now that we found out that Greg Popovich had a sit down with Kawhi Leonard in L.A. So where are we with this whole situation?
Well, Kawhi Leonard's intent going into the meeting was to, make clear, really expand on his trade request that came publicly last week before it came privately with the organization. And, he in his mind, he's at the end with the Spurs, and he wants to be moved. Whether or not Popovich made any progress with Leonard last night is unclear to me at this point. But he's been very adamant privately. That was a very public trade request.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was that's the way you do it when you're not happy, the way that came out and the way it was handled. And so he's got a year left on his deal. And, he can make it clear to teams that I'm told his preference is to be in L.A. and to be with the Lakers in 2019. He's a Southern California native. And, he can do what Paul George tried to do last year, which was tell teams, if you trade for me, I will just be a rental. Now, Oklahoma City rolled the dice. They made a lot of progress with Paul George, and they're very much in the mix to keep him. Will another team give up significant assets with the hope that they can re-sign Kawhi Leonard? People will give up something. There's no question. And that's what the Spurs are going to have to figure out here. Do they want to continue to try to repair the relationship, buy themselves some time? It worked with LaMarcus Aldridge last summer. This is a different situation. And at some point, the Spurs are going to have to, probably really start to engage teams to find a trade and see what's the best possible package that they can get back for him. But their hope is to repair this and try to convince him to stay there. It's not going great.
Adrian Wojnarowski with us, Bristol's finest, talking about the NBA draft coming up and what's going on in free agency. Woj, how important is Kawhi Leonard to what LeBron eventually does, or are they completely separate?
Well, I think that LeBron, especially with the Lakers, I think part of LeBron's decision with the Lakers will be who else is coming or who else can they get. Now, they could potentially be able to bring in two big free agents this summer. One, if one was LeBron, the other would, likely or he'd hope would be Paul George. But he could also look at it and say, even if the Lakers can't execute a trade for Kawhi Leonard now, if he wants to be there in 2019, the team would have the cap space. He could hope that Leonard comes next year or another great player comes next year. But the Lakers' best chance of getting LeBron James is to have another significant player be ready to walk in the door with him now. So there's no question they're related. And I know part of Leonard's thinking is he's got a chance to accelerate the building of a roster with the Lakers quicker than the Clippers. And there is some interest in the Clippers. It's L.A. It's a significant organization. But I think he sees the Lakers as a better opportunity right now to win sooner.
Woj, what, if any, conversation has LeBron or his people had with the Cavaliers?
I know that his agent, Rich Paul, stays in steady contact with Kobe Altman, their general manager. LeBron usually isolates himself this time of year. He's done that with the other two times he was headed to free agency, Cleveland and Miami, and that was kind of expected, and he'll let his agent converse with them. But I know they talk regularly. Now, his agent also has a couple other clients on the team. And so the Cavs are still in this, though. They're still very much a consideration for him. And I think people who have been quick to rule them out, I think there's a chance he still stays there. And it might be more of a lifestyle decision than a basketball decision. But regardless, he could – all of these star players, they can do one-year deals and revisit this again next year. He doesn't have to do a 4 or 5 year deal. He can continue down the road of taking it 1 year at a time. And, but we'll see as we get into July how this unfolds.
Woj, real quickly, as we're up against the clock, how much of what happens tomorrow night with Cleveland and the draft will tell us what happens with LeBron?
I don't think at number 8 that whoever they pick is going to have a great impact on his decision. They have a chance to get a good player there, and they're going to look at trades. They're going to look at scenarios of maybe trading down and seeing if they can bring back a player and a pick a little bit later. They're looking at a lot of scenarios. I know the Cavs have talked to teams about trying to move up in the draft too.
Woj, you're the best. And by the way, that podcast you did with Schefter reminds me of that Spider-Man theme where they're both pointing at each other. Hey, wait, you're me and I'm you. That's exactly what that was. First thing I thought of. Appreciate you being with us, Woj.
I appreciate it, guys.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
We got soccer analyst Taylor Twellman in studio giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks. No contracts.
Told you about your English.
You did.
I did.
Very good. Harry Kane, baby. Harry Kane. So what was
extra time?
Well, whatever. What was a? And hold on. We need before you.
A goal's a goal, but yes.
Taylor,
that's just against my team.
More importantly, we need to ask you. We this is very serious. We had to have a certain sounder for the World Cup. So we had 4, and we narrowed it down. And this is the one we came up with. This is our official theme song whenever we do a World Cup update for the Russian World Cup. Good?
It's debatable.
Wow. Wow.
Because I'm not totally, my first reaction is, that's not really Russian music, is it?
It's well, we had one that was very, very Brazilian.
Give it to me one more time, please.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, we don't want it to be all Russia. I mean, it's the world,
it's thematic,
isn't it?
though.
True, but the World Cup is in Russia. So, yeah, sure. No, it's good. I'd go with that one.
Hey, thanks for the downer. Appreciate that very much.
That's awesome. Good morning, guys.
Great. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Glad to have you.
Okay, so
all that work you put into it.
Can we get Bruce Arena back on?
Hold on. I'll call
him. Now, why would we do that?
I listened to a little bit of Taylor's comments. And although Taylor's supposed to be an expert in the game, I think he's dead wrong on a couple things.
We got to fight. We got to fight between Bruce Arena.
He's trying to sell a book, though.
Yes, he is. What's Wrong with Us is the name of that book.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So understandable. Okay, so what was a bigger upset yesterday, in your opinion? Was it Japan being the first Asian player or Asian team to take down a South American team in World Cup?
Yeah.
Or was it somehow, some way, the other major upset yesterday?
Senegal. That was my team.
Yeah, the hard one for me is that group coming into the World Cup trade, Mike, was the most interesting for me because it's the most balanced. And what I mean by that is all 4 teams had a legitimate argument of advancing, right? So, but when you really look at it, Colombia, the red card in the 3rd minute, that completely killed their mojo, that completely killed the game. Japan took advantage of it. The Senegal game-winning goal is the most difficult thing to explain because I've never seen it before. I've never seen a 4th official try to grab a player returning from injury on the field telling him not to come on, while the main official, the game official, saying, come on, while the ball is in air and no one's got possession. It was the most ridiculous situation I've ever seen. Video review can't review it because nobody really expected that ever to happen.
Correct.
And in saying that, the Polish goalkeeper Szczesny makes a bonehead decision thinking, oh no, the ball's 50 yards away. I'm going to come off my line after his teammate played a bad ball in. That situation, guys, we'll never see again. I promise you that.
That's great.
We'll never see it again.
Really great. It happened with my team.
Yeah,
really happy about that.
It sounds like football's equivalent of the Fail Mary in that Monday night game a few years ago between Seattle and Green Bay with the replacement refs, right?
That was something.
So the other thing that's happening today, Cristiano Ronaldo has already scored. The header was glorious. It was unbelievable. And what do you make of what he's doing in this World Cup? Because you just had the stat from 2006 to 2014 in 13 World Cup games, he had 3 goals. Yes. He already has 4 in less than a game and a half.
Because the huge pressure that is on his shoulders to win a major tournament is gone because they won the European
Euros in
Championship
2016.
In 2016. And so he's come into this one kind of playing with house money, so to speak. All the pressure in the world on the superstars is on Neymar and is on Messi because he won that in France in 16. So that performance, now I don't want to be a wet blanket, but when you look at the hat trick, it was an awful mistake from David De Gea. Then it was a stupid tackle from Piqué. Yes, he's got to score the free kick. I understand that. But 2 of the 3 goals were self-inflicted from Spain. But the guy's remarkable to me. It's very similar when we're watching Tom Brady as he ages. It's almost like Cristiano's getting better.
Yeah. All right, I'm glad you said that because at first I said you rain on everybody's parade.
Yeah, usually. That's kind of what I'm kind of the cooler.
How about raining on Egypt's parade? Arguably the best player and most solid in the world, and they're showing so far.
Yeah, Golic, that's a tough one for me because that injury in the Champions League final 3.5-4 weeks ago killed it. If he plays through that, I think Liverpool has a chance of winning it, but more importantly, he stays fit. Now, he scored on a penalty yesterday, but you could tell he hadn't really been match fit. He's not fit. His match sharpness wasn't there. But it's a little surprising to me that I'm not going to say, Russia scoring 8 goals in their first 2 games is shocking.
Right.
But there's a belief in what they are. They're a little old school. They've got a big, tall striker up front. They play off of Zuba going forward. and then they all run off of him, and they're kind of in that belief. Now,
rain on that parade, because that's not that great group, is it?
It's not.
Yeah,
exactly
okay.
what I was just going to say is that, okay, well, then Saudi Arabia, I didn't know they had a team, and then Egypt, so to speak, because the way
I've
those
got
two
them in
teams
play
play
today, so thanks.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And against one of the teams that I think could surprise and go all the way to
Uruguay.
the semis. Yep. Yeah. Good luck today on Saudi Arabia.
Well,
my
listen,
friend.
look, I've been on a roll. Okay, I got a draw when Brazil played Switzerland. I got an unbelievable upset when Japan took down Colombia. I'm good. I'm playing with house money on the early rounds right now. Taylor Twellman in studio with us, talking about the World Cup. Listen, we mentioned Brazil. Switzerland went at Neymar in that game. I mean, somebody referred to that as Fight Club, and I said when they did that, well, the first rule of Fight Club, you do not talk about Fight Club. How concerned are you now that Neymar has left practice with an injury?
He's fine.
No issues?
Yes, he will play Friday. Now, Brazil doesn't need Neymar to beat Costa Rica. They need Neymar to win the World Cup. So I look at that game, and here's one thing that I think the American sports fan looks at and says, well, I can't believe Neymar was fouled 10 times against Switzerland. Part of that was Neymar's fault. He was very slow. He was very methodical. He tried to do a lot through himself. And I could actually make an argument right now that if Neymar doesn't play, Brazil may be better. This is the most balanced, complete roster they've had in the last 4 or 5 World Cups. He's the cherry on top. They don't need Neymar.
Really?
That the way Argentina needs Messi, and especially the way Portugal needs Cristiano Ronaldo. They need Neymar, don't get me wrong, to win the World Cup. But the problem against Switzerland, it was on him. He was too slow. He was way too slow. His decision-making, too many touches. And I'd argue that Douglas Costa, coming in, he may be a better option right now.
So overall, when you look at the World Cup and you look at like the NCAA tournament, the basketball tournament, when early on you get upsets, but then it's kind of, most times it's chalk the rest of the way through. Did you expect the same thing here? We had some early upsets, but as this goes on, could there be a little more craziness, or do you expect chalk to kind of take hold?
Great question, Golic, because your first round of games, there were a couple surprises. Argentina tying Iceland, Mexico beating Germany.
Yeah, baby.
But the Mexico-Germany one has me a little, I don't know, because Sweden's a better team than people expect. I do expect the cream to rise. Don't get me wrong. But the way the first games went, i.e. Russia scoring 8 goals, Mexico winning, like I said, I don't know. We may have a few surprises that we didn't expect. And you're going to ask me, why is it that way in 2018? It's because the international game, the club football, club soccer, it's made the minnows, the smaller teams, better. Those players are more competitive now, and I think we've seen that in the first round of games.
All right, listen, we got a lot more to get with you. Can you stick around for a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
All right, good. Taylor Twellman here. Our soccer analyst, Taylor Twellman, is here with us in studio. And again, I think no matter what, when we talk about the World Cup.
Okay, it's better than I thought.
Thank you.
Better than I thought. My apologies. It's growing on me.
We're just going to refer to it from now on.
Kind of like you two.
Thank you. We're like a fungus that way. It's like
shows up every month.
There you go. It's sort of like whenever I think of this, it's going to be the Who's Got Tunisia update, because that sort of is the running joke.
Tunisia, who does have Tunisia?
I think the staff had Tunisia.
I think they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They also have Russia, though.
That's a good one. That's a big one for them.
Joke.
Well, let me ask you this, because we haven't really gotten into this yet. But
okay.
The thing that happened this summer in England, which was big, was the royal wedding. Right, huge deal. I think the ratings for the England-Tunisia game dwarfed the viewership for the royal wedding.
Yeah, they were better than the royal wedding.
Better than the royal wedding.
Amazing.
People don't understand. Outside, there's a soccer niche in this country that understands.
Yeah.
But I don't think the average sports fan understands how big this event is to everybody else in the world.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think what that conversation, Trey, has changed over the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 years.
Yes, it has.
Because it used to be, and it still is, don't get me wrong, a niche, but it's a lot bigger than the hockey niche.
Correct.
And it's a lot bigger than the baseball one. And that's the one the American sports fan has a very difficult time understanding. I'm not talking about American soccer. I'm talking about soccer in general. When you look at the business metrics of viewership, both Spanish and English, then, Trey, that's where the conversation changes.
Yes.
But I don't think people fully understand how countries literally shut down for these World Cup games.
Well, And they're obviously screwed.
Us three are talking on ESPN radio right now. There's a couple games.
But
there's a game on, right? That doesn't happen around the world.
They're screwing it up in Russia right now, something we would never do when we host in 2026.
This will not happen in 2026.
They're running out of beer.
Yeah.
They're running.
How is that possible?
I have no idea. There's a waiter at an upscale restaurant said we just didn't think they would only want beer.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of people in Moscow, and they're all drinking. I think what happened is Russia has a high tolerance for vodka. They figured everybody would want vodka.
I was just
but when you're all day drinking, you got to do it with the beer. You do it with the vodka.
Yes. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's exactly right.
Well,
so,
on the other hand, though, are you really just going to order beer in Moscow? I've been to Russia.
Right,
you've got to dabble
most
a little
of the
bit.
day. I would have beer, and then you pop the the vodka and other stuff at night. But to run out of beer,
but this isn't like you said.
Come on.
This is a rager. This is an all day event. You can't start at 11 on vodka and still be going at 7 on vodka.
Although some of the SEC fans will do it.
Unless you're Russian or from the SEC.
We just want to have a good time. We don't want to ruin their lives, you know? And then there's this. Halifax, Nova Scotia. 12-year-old boy sitting down to dinner with the family.
Yep.
I actually like this.
What does he get served? A salad.
Oh.
Got served a salad.
So what did he do?
A leafy dinner. He made his displeasure known. He called 911.
Come on.
He called 911 because his parents gave him a salad. When the cops didn't respond to his emergency in a timely fashion, he called again just to reiterate how much he hates the salad.
Smart boy. I mean,
is that unbelievable?
Call again if you're going to get attention.
But my point is,
raw tossed vegetable though.
Yeah.
Like when you read the story, it's raw tossed vegetable.
So really,
is it a salad or is it this new? Brussels sprout raw /
It's rabbit food is what it is.
Yeah.
It's rabbit food.
I love salads, though. Obviously, when you look like I do.
If you're the cops and you get the second call, what do you say? Guy. Dude.
Guy.
Well,
can I speak to the parents for a minute?
They did show up.
Yeah.
They did show up. They did not intervene on the quality and substance of the family dinner, but they did take the opportunity to educate the boy about the appropriate uses of 911.
Okay, read that sentence again. They did not intervene.
They did not intervene on the quality and substance of the family dinner.
That is the most Canadian thing ever. Right? That is the most Canadian thing ever.
Rather they use
that description of that
aggressive 100%
is the most Canadian thing ever.
We don't want to get into what you're serving the young lad.
Yeah. Hey, you guys are having a good thing, okay? So for
that's
sure,
exactly what
and
it was.
We'll just move on.
Rather, they use the unexpected house call as an opportunity to educate the boy about the appropriate use of 911. As the officer said, hopefully this will be a learning lesson. Meanwhile, the kid's parents were reportedly not impressed by their son's over-the-top cry for help. You think?
Yeah, but did the salad have dressing on it? Was it?
It's raw tossed vegetables, man.
Right, that's a big part of a salad, by the way.
Taylor, most important question we're asking you today. I got hosed a little bit thanks to Ronaldo. Spain, Portugal ties.
Yeah.
Spain's playing Iran today.
This is all about you. This is all about you.
It's all about
15 seconds.
Am I good with Spain?
100%. Spain's, I think, minus 5-10. Yes. I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think
come on.
Spain will win. Spain will win 2-0 is what I'm going to the bank with.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.